Welcome to part 2 of Amy the Axolotl tutorial. We're going to start off by making a magic ring. So if you don't catch it quite at first, don't worry, I'm going to be replaying it in slow motion. To start, you're going to wrap the yarn around your top 3 fingers like this. It's going to create an X on one side and 2 parallel lines on the other side. And then I pinch the yarn with my pinky. And you're going to take your hook, go under the first loop and over the top of the second. Pull it through, twist your hook, and grab the yarn to pull through that loop. Don't worry, I'm going to show you it one more time in slow motion. So taking the yarn, wrapping it around your top 3 fingers, creates an X on one side and 2 lines on the other side. Grab the yarn with your pinky finger, and then take your crochet hook. You're going to go underneath the first loop, over top the second, and pull the second underneath the first. As you're coming through, twist your hook, and then grab the yarn and pull it through that loop. And there is the magic ring. So now we're going to single crochet into the ring. Make sure you're single crocheting over top both the tail and the loop. So here you can see I'm crocheting over 2 strings here. And we're placing 8 single crochets into this loop. It can take some practice to get a hold of holding the ring and stuff like that. So if you mess this up, don't worry, just repeat the front of this video and watch it as many times as you need to. Now that you have 8 single crochets, you're just going to pull the ring shut. Be sure that the ring doesn't kind of crumple in on itself, or else you won't be able to see where your stitches are going to be going. And then place your first single crochet of the round. So this magic ring is identical to the one that you started with at the beginning of the axolotl. And just place your first single crochet and then mark that stitch. Now we are going to place 1 single crochet in each one of these stitches around. So no increasing or decreasing. And now you can remove your stitch marker. And we're going to fasten off. This is it for the arm. So take your hook and you're just going to insert your hook in the next available stitch and pull the yarn through both loops immediately. And that's just going to create a clean edge to fasten off of, and then cut your yarn, leave about 12 to 15 inches for sewing, and make sure the magic ring is pulled shut, and then you're going to weave in that end. And that creates his little arm. That's all there is to it. And you're going to want to make 2 of these. So you can repeat the video from the start. And then just don't forget to weave in the end. Next, we are going to make the tail. Again, the tail is totally optional. We're going to start off with the magic ring. If you need further assistance with the magic ring, I recommend playing the slow motion version again at the beginning of the video. But once you have your magic ring, you are going to make 5 single crochets. So making sure you're crocheting over top both the tail and the loop here. That's 3, 4, and 5. And then pull the ring shut. Now we're going to make our first single crochet of the round. So insert your hook, make 1 single crochet, and then mark that stitch. So for round 2, all we're doing is doing 5 single crochets around, no increasing or decreasing. So second single crochet, third, fourth, and fifth. It can be a little tricky here because this is a really tiny circle. And then flip that inside out. And the next round we are going to be increasing in every stitch around. So remove your stitch marker and make an increase in the first stitch. So first single crochet and your second single crochet. And then you're going to mark the first stitch that you did, so that's the second V down from the loop. And just keep increasing all the way around until you get back to the stitch marker. This is going to give us a total of 10 stitches. For round 3, we're just doing 10 single crochets around, no increasing. So make your first single crochet of the round and mark that stitch. Then just continue single crocheting all the way around until you get back to the stitch marker. Now for the next round, we are just going to be doing an increase in every other stitch. So place your first single crochet of the round and mark that stitch. Now place an increase in the next stitch, and then single crochet. Increase, single crochet. This is going to give us 15 stitches, so I will meet you back at the stitch marker. Now you can remove your stitch marker. Place your first single crochet of the round and mark that stitch. Next, we are just single crocheting in each stitch around for a total of 15 stitches. Next, we are going to place a single crochet in the first stitch of the round and mark that stitch. So for these next 2 rounds, all we're doing is a single crochet all the way around until you get back to the stitch marker. So just 15 single crochets, and we're going to do that for this round and also the next round. So for the last round, just remove your stitch marker, place your first stitch of the round, and mark that stitch. And then for this round, again, all we're doing is 15 single crochets in each stitch around. This is the last round of the tail. Now that you have your tail, we are just going to fasten off. So remove your stitch marker and place a slip stitch, which means you are just inserting your hook in the next available stitch and pulling the yarn all the way through. And then trim your yarn, again leaving about 15 inches for sewing, and pull the yarn through. And then don't forget to weave in that end as well to make sure it doesn't come undone. Next, we're going to be attaching the arms. So make sure you did 2 arms, and it's time to sew them onto the body. So take your yarn needle and thread one of the arms onto your needle. And if you've never sewed anything onto a piece of crochet before, don't worry, it's super easy. So you're going to place your arm 1 stitch down from the eye like this and about 1 stitch over. Doesn't have to be exact, just make sure it's where you want it before you start sewing. And make sure the arm is below the eye. So all you're going to be doing is inserting your needle into 1 stitch on the body and then 1 stitch through the arm like so. And just keep doing that around each stitch of the arm. So inserting your needle into the body and then up through the arm and pulling through. This is just a basic whip stitch. Just make sure you are stitching on every stitch through the arm to make sure it's nice and secure. Once you have the arm on, you are just going to weave in your end, so poke it through a few random stitches back and forth to make sure the arm isn't going to come off. Next, you can repeat the exact same thing on the other side. Just make sure as you're sewing, everything stays symmetrical and you're really paying attention to where the arm is positioned in relation to the first one, or else you're going to have lopsided axolotl. So now that you have both arms on the axolotl, we are going to move on to putting the gills on the axolotl. You're going to take the dark pink yarn in your Yarny Box kit and take your crochet hook and insert it right above the arm onto the body, just like this. So the stitch that is directly in the middle of the first arm, you want to make sure it's right under the first eye, just like so. Just insert your hook. It's going to feel a little strange because you're not technically going into a stitch, but we're directly crocheting the gills onto the body. So what we're going to do is pull the dark pink yarn through that little hole just like this, and then take the yarn with your hook and pull it through that loop. And then you can tighten the yarn on the other side like so, making sure you're leaving a tail a few inches long. And then all we're doing is yarning over and pulling through the loop on your hook like so. So this is 3, 4, you can see it's creating a chain, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12. So what you just did was you made 12 chain stitches out of the body just like this. This can be tricky to get, so if you have to undo this and redo it, don't worry about it, just repeat this video. And now we are just going to take this chain and we're going to fold it over like this and reinsert our hook onto the body right where that chain starts. This can be tricky to get, so don't worry about it. Insert your hook right about there. Pull the dark pink yarn all the way through and onto the loop on your hook as well. And that secured the first little gill onto the axolotl. And we're going to repeat this 2 more times on each side. So insert your hook again, pull tight, make sure everything is nice and tight, and yarn over, pull through. Do this 12 times. And then we're doing the exact same thing, folding it over, inserting our hook into the stitch right above where we just crocheted from, grabbing the pink yarn and pulling it through all the loops on our hook. Just like so. And you've just made your second gill here. So we're gonna do this one more time. Insert your hook and pull it tight, and then chain 12 times. And then insert your hook into the body like this and pull the dark pink yarn all the way through. Just like so. And then you're going to cut the yarn, leave about 6 inches, pull it through, and that's it. So you've just done all the gills for the axolotl. Again, if this came out really messy and you want to redo it, you can cut it off, try again. This is definitely a skill that takes some practice, so do it as many times as you need. And now to secure the pink together, we are going to take one of the ends of the dark pink yarn. We're going to thread it through the needle, and we are going to have it poke out of the body where the exact same hole where the dark pink yarn is coming out of. So just right down there like this. And then you're going to tie those two dark pink pieces together in a double knot to secure it. So pulled super tight, and that secures them all together. Now you can thread them onto your yarn needle and have them come poking out the back side of the axolotl, and then you can trim them off. We're going to repeat the gills exactly the same on the other side. Again, taking lots of care to make sure that your hook is coming out of the exact same holes that are symmetrical on the other side of the axolotl, or else you're going to have a lopsided axolotl. Now, if you want to leave your axolotl like this, you totally can. You can just add on the smile, but I'm going to show you how to do the tail. So you're going to take your tail and you're going to sew it on the back just like this. First, you're going to take a little bit of stuffing and gently stuff the tail. Don't stuff it too full, just do a little bit. We're going to stuff it more as we're sewing it. We're going to sew it exactly like we did the arms, so thread your yarn needle with the tail, and take your yarn needle, poking it through one stitch of the body and one stitch of the tail. Just making your way around, ensuring that you're sewing every stitch of the tail onto the body. And as always, just take precaution when sewing, making sure everything is symmetrical as you go. And make sure the tail stays centered between the gills on the back side of the axolotl as you sew. Then when you're about 3/4 of the way done sewing, you can pause and put a little bit more stuffing onto the tail. And that's just going to make everything more stiff and have your axolotl sit nicer. Once you're done sewing, you can weave in the end and trim it off. So again, if you'd like, you can leave your axolotl just like this, but if you want to add on that dark pink ridge on the top of the tail, I'm going to show you how to do that next. Again, it's a bit tricky to get the hang of crocheting directly under the body, so if you want to skip this step, the axolotl looks just as cute without the ridge. It's totally up to you. You're going to insert your hook directly where the tail meets the back, just like so, and pull the dark pink yarn through that stitch. Next, you're going to pull the dark pink yarn through that loop on your hook. Next, we're going to surface crochet down the length of the tail. So what that means is we are just going to be inserting our hook into a stitch like this and make a single crochet with the pink yarn. Again, insert your hook into the next stitch, making sure you're going in a straight line. Make a single crochet. Again, insert your hook. It can be really tricky to find these stitches, so just take your time. Make a single crochet. And just keep going down the length of the tail until you get to the top. This is going to be the last one. It's going to be really tricky to get your hook in there. And single crochet. It doesn't matter how many single crochets you have, just make sure the ridge goes all the way down the length of the tail. Then you can trim your yarn, leave about 4 inches or so, and then pull the yarn through to secure it. And that's all there is to a surface crochet. Again, it's a skill that you have to learn, and it can be really tricky at first, so if you've got to undo it, that's no problem. Just undo it, try again. You'll get the hang of it eventually. Next, you're going to take the tails and again have them come out the same hole in the back, double knot them together, and then you can trim them off and poke the remaining yarn through the body. All we have left to do is embroider the mouth, so grab the black yarn in your kit and thread your yarn needle. You can do a straight line like this. This is a very classic axolotl look, or you can do kind of a squiggly line, or you can do a classic smile. So I'm first going to show you how to do a squiggly line. You're going to pick 2 holes really close together with the eyes. So about there, I would say, is going to be the first part of the squiggle. So just put your yarn needle through 2 holes like this and thread the black yarn, making sure that the tail is still sticking out on the other side. And then put your needle directly back into the first hole that you came out of. Now you're going to twist your needle, go down under in between those 2 holes, making sure it's in the center of them. Then take your needle, go up and over to pull that yarn down to create a little half smile just like this. And that's the first part of the squiggle. Then you're going to repeat that exactly the same on the other side. Again, just make sure everything is super symmetrical. Pulling through and then finding the center in between those 2 holes, poking your yarn needle into it, pulling the yarn over so that you can catch the yarn and keep it down into a smile shape, and then take the black yarn and poke it through like so. This again is a pretty classic axolotl look. It's just a squiggly little mouth. It's super cute. Thirdly, I'm going to show you just a classic smile look. So just take your needle and poke through a diagonal line in between the eyes, making sure you're going in the middle of them. And then poke your needle into the opposite side like so, making sure it's the same on each side. And then do the exact same thing. So you just embroidered 2 little diagonal lines that meet in the middle. And that's just your super classic smile that you can do on most amigurumi plushies. It's going to look adorable. And then to secure the ends, just poke the black thread coming out of the same hole, double knot to secure, and then poke the yarn back through the body with your scissors. And there you have it. That's it for the axolotl. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'll see you in the next one.